Doc, we know you're having fun at Pocono, but this city is great. The weather's beautiful, and we're watching a NASCAR first at a world-famous road course. The Circuit Gilles Villeneuve this weekend hosts its first ever NASCAR race with long straightaways and 14 tough turns. It's a strong test of both car and driver. One driver will be fastest today and receive a salute worthy of the track's namesake. ESPN welcomes you to the city of Montreal, where the sun is shining, the grandstands are filling, and starting spots are about to be set for the first ever NASCAR Busch Series race in Canada. It's Busch Pole qualifying live from the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve road course. The longtime home of the Canadian Grand Prix is Stock Car City this weekend, and a field of drivers from 8 different countries will run their time trial laps starting shortly. And welcome to Montreal. Alan Bestwick with two-time NASCAR Busch Series champ Randy LaJoie. Thanks for joining us today. Got the qualifying now, the race coming up a little bit later on. Randy, a qualifying lap in a Busch Series car, 4 turns. It's hard enough to get it right. 14 turns. How tough is this going to be?
You know, it's going to be very tough, Al. Not only, race car drivers, we kind of get simple. You know, we just want to turn left a couple times, hit the brakes a couple times. Here you have 14 turns. One of them could upset the other one. Did I say you have 7 braking zones and you shift anywhere from 14 to 18 times?
Now you're looking at some video from the practices on Thursday and Friday. It's been a handful already this weekend.
Oh, absolutely. And there's one part of this racetrack that is very hard to see. And not only is it hard to see, you have very little runoff.
The walls are so close to the racetrack. You saw Jason Leffler with his problem in practice. How do you balance fast with not wanting to bring out that backup car?
Well, you know what? These guys can't, because Watkins Glen is next week. Jason Leffler already has his Watkins Glen car. I was standing in his corner. He messed up the corner before the one he crashed on. So that's something that these guys got to be very careful of.
You don't want to bring out the backup car, but a good starting spot might be a necessity if you want to have a good finish in this race. We will see. A lot of stories in the field, new faces, experienced hands, plus some drivers with a lot of airplanes and helicopters affecting their day. Let's go to pit road. Here's Vince Welch.
That's right, Alan. This is the second of 3 road course events on the Busch Series schedule. They'll wrap up the set next week at Watkins Glen. Now, we get ready for qualifying here. It's extra important because you want to be up toward the front, because that means less bumping and grinding you've got to do to get there during the course of the race. Although we saw at Mexico City, the first road course of the season, there can be bumping and grinding on a road course no matter where it is in the field and where it is in the stage of the race. Go back to March at Mexico City. Scott Pruitt in the yellow 41 turned around by his teammate Juan Pablo Montoya in the late stages of the race, and Montoya went on to win that race, his lone Busch Series victory. So getting up toward the front, not going to guarantee you're not going to be trading paint, but it'll certainly help, and that's why qualifying carries that extra significance here today. But Gary Gerald, Scott Pruitt won't have to worry about Juan Pablo Montoya today.
Vince, there's absolutely no mistaking the fact that was bitter disappointment for Scott Pruitt in Mexico City in March. The altercation there in the late laps, a race that he had absolutely dominated. There were ill feelings between he and Montoya, but they got things patched up a couple of days later. Nonetheless, this is a new opportunity for Pruitt. It gives him a chance to get his first Busch victory. But to do that, he has got to go through a field that is loaded with road racing specialists. Consider some of the names: Max Pappas, Boris Said, Michel Jourdain. There's Patrick Carpentier and Ron Fellows, a pair of Canadians. Pruitt himself, Andy Lally, new to this circuit, but a great road racer. And Robbie Gordon, of course, who's proved his skills over the years on various road courses. Each and all of these drivers are absolutely hoping at the end of the day, they're the man who takes away the lion's share of more than $2 million purse. Let's go to Marty Smith.
Thanks a lot, Gary. 7 Nextel Cup Series stars will make the trek north today to Montreal from Pocono, Pennsylvania, to take in today's race. However, 5 of those only will be in qualifying. The 2 exceptions, Kevin Harvick and Jeff Burton. The 3rd exception is Greg Biffle. He won't be here either. That leaves Scott Wimmer, Brandon Miller, and Casey Atwood to fill in during qualifying. The role of a backup driver is not very fun. I asked Mark Green, who has served as backup driver for David Ruderman throughout this weekend in Montreal, what that role is like. He said, man, it's like taking the quarterback's girlfriend to the ball game. It's awfully nice to be seen with her, but you always know she's going home with somebody else. Alan?
All right, Marty, thanks. You saw David Reagan's name on that list of those who has made it here to Montreal already. He and Jack Roush walking down the midway, getting ready for his qualifying run. Brad Coleman's going to drive the Joe Gibbs entry here in place of Denny Hamlin today. And those guys aren't the only one having fun at fast speeds here in Montreal. Wow. NASCAR Busch Series qualifying brought to you by Bear Aspirin. Bear, expect wonders. And Fathead, possibly the greatest invention since the flush toilet. Check it out at fathead.com. Talked about the guys with the planes and helicopters and all the rest shuttling up here from practice at Pocono. David Reagan arriving a little bit earlier along with Carl Edwards. Jack Roush piloting them up here in a very fast airplane. There's David Ruderman making his way in from the helipad as well. So those three drivers here, though Burton, Harvick, and Greg Biffle will not apparently make it in time for this Busch Series qualifying session. 14 turns, a little over 2.7 miles around the circuit Gilles Villeneuve. A lot of long straightaways connected by very sharp, slow corners, Randy. It's going to be a very big strain on the drivers and their cars. Let's take a look at it.
Absolutely. You start-finish line, you're running 150 miles an hour heading into turn one. Left turn, right turn, downshifting all the way to second gear. This part of this race course is all blind. It's hard to see. Jason Leffler, he messed up on the turn before this one that he crashed on. You get into 6 and 7, again, very narrow. You don't want to run off through here. There's one little point here, you can miss this racetrack. This is 30-mile-an-hour corner. But then again, it leads to the fastest part of this racetrack. Here we got Scott Pruitt. Probably the best, one of the best in the field today. Nice and smooth. You can see other guys coming through there not so smooth. This corner here, 13 and 14, this is going to be an eventful piece right here because some guys are going to miss that corner totally.
Look at how close the walls are to the racetrack. You mess up in qualifying and have to pull out the backup car. Remember, we're only a few hours away from race time. That's not a lot of time to get it prepared and get it ready to go. Now, qualifying on the road course for the NASCAR Busch Series today, the procedure a little bit different than it normally is on a weekly oval track.
Well, you know, it is different, Alan. What happens is European style. You have 5 cars with you. They try to separate them. And one of the things as a driver, you sit there and you're trying to visualize your lap. It happened to me one time at Watkins Glen. I'm visualizing my lap. I'm coming down into my second lap, and I go into turn one, and I seen a car there. And it missed up my braking points. I missed the corner totally, ended up crashing. So you mentally prepare for nobody on the racetrack, but you know there's other people on the racetrack. So really, it's different. It is a different field.
Now, the cars have been ordered into these groups for qualifying in inverse order of their practice speeds yesterday. Well, some of the Nextel Cup guys didn't practice yesterday. So we're going to have some really fast cars in this first group on the racetrack. There's Todd Cleaver, who will go out in the Roush 16. Then about 30 seconds later or so, they'll send the next car out, which will be Mark Green, then David Reagan, then Robbie Gordon, then Jeff Burton in this first group. Reagan, Gordon, and Burton not practicing here at Montreal yesterday, so they're going to be out in this first group and set some numbers that some of these guys will chase for a while.
And I'm not sure if Burton is even going to be here. I'm not sure the RCR guys made it.
Yeah, it'll be Scott Wimmer in that car. I'm sorry,
but you know, Robbie Gordon's going to set a fast lap. David Ruderman has a fast car. We've seen him get here. You know, one of the things guys have to be careful is these blind spots. If somebody does mess up or kick dirt on the racetrack, it's going to mess you guys up for a lap.
You see how close he came to the wall there just on his outlap.
Oh, you know, these outlaps don't really count. So they're trying to keep the brakes cool because a cooler brake system is going to work better for at least a lap and a half.
Now, this is turn 10. This is the hairpin. You might have seen some of the video on SportsCenter of the nasty Formula One crash that they had here back in June. The driver, fortunately, was fine after a couple days in the hospital, but that was where that accident happened.
You can see the black stripes that he left when he left that corner, so they got a lot of grip right now with these sticker tires.
Now, right here at this little right-left chicane, you'll see a patch of green on the inside of the racetrack toward the pit wall. Right there, that green on your right of the screen.
Yep.
If a driver runs across that during his qualifying lap, because he doesn't get slowed down enough to make the corner, his time will be disallowed. You must make that corner on the black part of the pavement.
And that was green when we got here. So it's a whole lot darker now. But then it said they can let the guys run through there coming to the green. I'm not quite sure if that's a good thing to do.
So Todd Cleaver on track now, driving for Jack Roush Fenway Racing. Finished 11th at Mexico City back in March earlier this season. That was his best road course finish in his 3 tries at it.
Things are bopping and a weaving already.
And here coming to the green to start his qualifying effort is David Reagan in the 6. Now, David was here on Thursday. They had an open day of testing, 2 3-hour practice sessions on Thursday. David and the other Nextel Cup drivers were all here for that practice. So it's not like because he wasn't here yesterday, he hasn't had any laps on the racetrack.
Not at all. And he was testing this week at the Glen, too. So he was up there making laps. And that's the best thing to do on a road course, is just to make laps and familiarize yourself with where you're going.
David did have a little bobble in that test session on Thursday, got into the wall with the right rear corner of his car. The crew went to work repairing that.
One of many that had to repair some of the cars.
Yeah. Yeah, there were a lot of right rear corners patched up.
Absolutely. One of the hardest things about road racing, the guys are very happy that they had a day Thursday just to practice and learn the racetrack. The more you try hard, the slower you go. You can overdrive these corners, you can spin your tires, you can lock them up. So what happens is the crew will tell you, just come in and park for a minute and just detune yourself to analyze how you just did.
Now, Randy, the drivers have 9 minutes in qualifying. That'd get them about 4 laps. Will they take all 4 laps?
I don't think so. I do believe some of these guys might have a little tape on the grill to get the water temperature up in the air. So I think they're going to say once they do get warm, they're going to shut it down.
Now here's a team that's going to be at a deficit to start the race later this afternoon. That is Scott Wimmer on board the Childress 29, second in the owner points. Coming into the weekend, Jeff Burton will race this car this afternoon, but because Wimmer is qualifying it, Burton will start at the back of the pack.
You know, I talked to the RCI guys this morning. Not only is Jeff Burton, but Kevin Harvick, and they're thinking race-wise, they're only going to race hard for half of the race to try to maintain the car so they can finish this thing up in the front.
2 road course races for Scott Wimmer in his NASCAR Busch Series career. Watkins Glen in 2001 and Mexico back earlier this March. Talked about those owner championship standings. The tag team of Jeff Burton and Scott Wimmer have this car 205 points behind Carl Edwards for the owners championship, where Carl has the 852-point lead in the driver's standings.
And if you don't think that means nothing, why don't you go ask Jack Roush or Richard Childress, you know, what does the owner championship mean? They both want it.
Had that left front locked up and boiling going into that corner.
He's not going to be the only one. I watched Kevin Harvick here Thursday. Every lap I seen him, that you could read Goodyear, it wasn't spinning.
See the countdown clock, how much time is remaining in this group. Again, they get 9 minutes to qualify. Run as many laps as they can. Best lap obviously counts as long as you make all the corners and don't take any shortcuts.
Well, we hope so.
Believe me, if there's a way out there for somebody to take a shortcut, they've looked at it and tried to figure out how to use it.
Yes, we have.
And here's the man who's fastest so far in this first session, Robbie Gordon.
Robbie Gordon, he's going to be very exciting to watch. Him on an oval is exciting, but you make him switch gears and turn left, turn right. His tires might not be on the ground for half of this lap.
Numbers on Robbie Gordon, 3 top 10 finishes in 4 NASCAR Busch Series road course races. Hasn't won one yet. And the Busch Series, of course, he's got Nextel Cup wins on a road course. But his best Busch Series finish is second at Watkins Glen a couple of times. Gary, what do you got?
Well, unlike the other Nextel Cup drivers who were flying and helicoptering in this morning, Robbie Gordon arrived about 10 o'clock last night, got a good night's sleep. He's ready to attack and is attacking right now. And he is fully determined that he will put that 55 Ford on the pole. He's going to put up a number, he says, and let everybody try to bump him out of it. Keep in mind, the chassis underneath that bodywork has had success. The last 2 years, he's been second at Watkins Glen, or that chassis had been. He was also on the pole in Mexico City a couple of years ago. So clearly, the car likes road courses. Robbie Gordon said, I adapted quickly on Thursday. And you know Robbie, guys, he's full of confidence. We'll see if he can put it in the number 1 spot. And if he does, how long it'll hold.
Yeah, unlike a lot of the other drivers who at least wanted to try and run the first Nextel Cup practice this morning at Pocono, Robbie's plan all along has been to skip the whole day at Pocono today and concentrate on this race today here in Montreal.
He just loves road racing, and you can see by this lap, I mean, it's going to be interesting to watch him and see how long his brakes before they boil if he sets this thing on the stop.
Like other NASCAR Busch Series races, like all other NASCAR Busch Series races, this is an impound race. So once they're done with qualifying, they bring their car to an impound position on pit road, and that's it. Aside of a couple of minor adjustments, you're not going to be allowed to touch them before the race starts later today.
It's going to take that long for the brakes to cool off.
So Robbie Gordon right now at an average speed of 94 miles an hour. You see Scott Wimmer already done. And I think we'll see that with most of the teams like you talked about earlier, Randy. I don't think they'll use the entire window.
Not at all. I mean, obviously, Robbie sees something that, you know, he wants to hit all 14 corners. He might only hit 10 of them the first time. So he wants to go there and get all 14 of them.
So Scott Wimmer showing right now with the 4th fastest lap, and Robbie continues to run laps here. You know, he wasn't here yesterday for practice. He might also be just getting in a couple of practice laps, too.
Absolutely. I mean, it does take yourself a lap, 2 laps, to get acclimated again to the racetrack. I don't care if it's an oval, but this road course, I mean, especially back through this section he's going through there, I think he's all done now. Yeah. But it just takes you some muscle memories, like a golf swing. I mean, that's why you practice swing. And these guys here, they need practice laps.
You practice when you play golf?
Well,
I've seen you golf. Be straight with me now.
There's not enough practice.
Looks like David Reagan is out of it as well.
Just let that thing keep rolling. I want you to go real slow, 10, 15 miles an hour.
And what they're talking about is they're trying to keep the brakes cool. The more air you can get in there, don't hit the brakes, guys. Get these things to cool down quick. The more we can save them now, the longer we could go later on.
So everybody's done. In Group 1, Robbie Gordon is the fastest so far. Kevin Harvick's car will be out in the next group when we come back to Montreal. Two-time Nextel Cup champion Tony Stewart notched his 2nd win in a row at Indianapolis last week. He's going to be one of the contenders for this year's Cup championship. The race for the chase getting kind of tight, with only a few points separating Earnhardt Jr. and Kurt Busch for that 12th and final spot. And the Nextel Cup Series moves to Pocono on Sunday. The race on ESPN presented by Rush Hour 3. Not all that far from Pocono up to Montreal as the airplane flies. It's about a 50-minute flight, we've been told by the drivers who've been shuttling back and forth. The trick, of course, is that you've got a helicopter from the track in Pocono to the airport there, and then fly to the airport here and clear customs, and then helicopter into the race course here. According to Carl Edwards, the customs folks have been very cooperative in making arrangements to deal with all that expeditiously. And so Carl already on the grounds. We'll see him in qualifying a little bit later on.
Must be a little different. I was going through North Dakota into Canada, and the customs weren't nice.
Well, it was you.
Oh, yeah.
What were you carrying? You had all your racing seats and things, right?
Yeah, well, I had to leave the trailer.
Yeah. Second session has just begun. This is Kevin Harvick's car, but Kevin's not here yet. That's Brandon Miller, the 25-year-old from Bakersfield, California, who's been a test driver and part-time Busch Series driver for Richard Childress Racing the last few seasons.
And these guys want the Owners' Championship bad. That race team, they want to win this championship. It must be something. They must get a big bonus for something.
Racers aren't motivated by money.
Boom.
Let's hear from some of the guys who just finished qualifying. Marty?
Thanks, Alan. I'm here with Todd Cleaver, 3rd quickest in that first session. How's your race car?
You know, I think the race car is better than the driver, to be honest with you. I'm not a road course specialist, as we all know, but it's fun. I love doing them. You know, we normally can run okay once we get racing, but as far as me posting a big fast lap in practice, it usually doesn't happen. Just looking to, you know, like I said, build on what we did at Mexico. We were 11th at Mexico City. I think we can do that again here, probably maybe better, but just real conservative in qualifying, man. The brakes are going to be so crucial here in the race, and you know, me and Eddie, my crew chief, talked about it. I'm not Michelle Jourdain. I can't set on the pole here, so you know, there's no point in going for it. You know, I guess the difference between starting 12th or 15th or 38th is nothing, because it's all pit strategy and staying out of the wreck and saving your stuff. So we just figured every lap we burned up in qualifying on our brakes, one less lap we were going to have in the race. So just 2 conservative laps get us a nice solid starting spot, and we're going to go racing from here.
Thanks so much, Todd. He was saying yesterday, guys, how blind these corners are, and that's a big concern for him as well. Vince?
Thank you, Marty, with Robbie Gordon, who did not practice here yesterday, but got in a full day on Thursday. Are you pleased with your run?
I don't know. Going out first, how do you say it? I think we might have set the goalpost as far as what we're aware of as times have been out so far, but now it's a sit and wait game. Most important thing for us is if I can qualify inside the top 10, I'll be happy. And really, that's all I'm looking for.
How aggressive were you on that qualifying run?
Fairly aggressive. It's faster than we ran on Thursday when we were here. Track's obviously going to get warmer, so maybe we got a little bit of a luck of the advantage by the draw, but we'll see. The pole will be great, but the most important thing for us qualify inside the top 10 and position ourselves to be strong at the end of the race.
The 55 put a number on the board for everybody to shoot for. Alan?
All right, Vince, as the ticker goes by top of the screen throughout this qualifying, the cars highlighted in yellow are the cars that are on the track now, and there's some trouble for Trevor Boyes. The veteran Canadian race driver, of course, spent seasons on the Nextel Cup circuit.
Yes, he did.
And is here in Montreal trying to qualify Randy McDonald's 71 car. Had a little trouble down in the first corner. Let's watch those rear tires. Does he get them hopping? Looks like just went in a little hot.
Yes, he did. Like I said, you missed that first corner. It totally misses the one you're supposed to go the other way on. He's just warming the tires up, maybe.
Wow. See the gasoline spraying out of there when he has centrifugal force when it spun around? And now here we go back to that situation you were talking about of having another car on the track with you when you're trying to make your qualifying run.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a tough situation. The guy behind him says, okay, you're the one that spun out. Let me go, and then you follow me. But then again, they're like, okay, nobody's going to pass me.
Guy behind him is the 01. That is Joe Fox, a 35-year-old sports car racer out of the Charlotte, North Carolina area. Looking to make his first NASCAR Busch Series start.
When they group these things together, these guys are going to be racing all day today. I mean, not only in qualifying, they're going to be racing on the racetrack later on.
Some guys prefer to have somebody to chase, so,
You're right. There are some people that need a rabbit to go after, and thankfully I'm not one of those guys. I like to be the rabbit. I like to get caught. I want to catch the last place car. I was taught that years ago by my dad.
So Brandon Miller has brought Harvick's car onto pit road. He has run right now what is the third fastest lap, although that is 4 seconds slower than what Robbie Gordon put up.
Oh, you're going to see. I'm not sure what from first to last is going to be, but it's going to be a wide variety of speed here. And, I think somebody's going to average this thing out and possibly could win this race by going to an average lap speed.
It's Morgan Shepherd on the track in the 89 car. I saw Morgan at, he missed that one. That lap won't count.
Well, he's going to the green, I think.
Yeah. He missed the chicane, so they'll disallow the lap time on that particular circuit. He'll have to try again. I saw Morgan at Indianapolis Motor Speedway last Sunday. He said, well, I'm going to get my motor home, drive to West Virginia, make an appearance, drive back to my shop, get my car from Montreal finished, and then drive it to Canada myself. He got here on Friday. Marty with David Reagan.
Alan, I'm here with David Reagan, and still second on the board right now. You got to feel pretty good about that. How's your car?
Yeah, our car's probably a little better than I am right now. I'm still trying to figure out the difference between turn 2 and turn 15. But, no, we've had a great time. This is an awesome racetrack. It's a lot of fun to be up here. I really got to give it out to my AAA guys back in Pocono. I feel like I left them out to hang dry this morning in the second practice. But I'll just have to make it up to them tomorrow.
How much does missing yesterday hurt you because there's just no experience on this track?
It hurt us a little bit, but, I try to look at Carl and Kevin Harvick, Jeff Burton, guys like that who missed yesterday also. And then they're still going to be strong, and we've got 70, 80-something laps today to figure this place out. But, also it helped me to get back and look at a track map, and I'm watching a GP race from on TV last night. So, just give me a chance to take a breath of fresh air. And we picked up a little bit today compared to Thursday. So we're on the right track. We just got to take care of our discount tire Ford today, and we'll have a good time.
David Reagan, second on the board, guys.
David going to start 36th in the Pocono race on Sunday afternoon.
One of the things, if he was worrying about turn 2 and turn 15, there's only 14 here.
Yeah. You picked up for that, did you? So Robbie Gordon is the fastest as the second of the sessions comes to a close here in Montreal. Brandon Miller fastest in that session. We'll hear from him when we come back. A beautiful city, Montreal, the French-Canadian heritage, the Cathedral of Notre Dame, spectacular. And of course, the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, so steeped in racing history, home for nearly 30 years of the Canadian Grand Prix, international racing stage. And now this weekend, for the first time ever, the NASCAR Busch Series in Canada. Not NASCAR's first foray north of the border. Richard Petty, among others, made his very first what is now Nextel Cup start back in Toronto, Canada, 1958, one of a couple of Cup Series races in Canada in the 50s. First Canadian to win a Nextel Cup race was for Earl Ross in 74. Larry Pollard won a Busch Series race, 1987. Larry also originally from Canada.
You know, from 1979 to 1985, the old NASCAR North Circuit raced up here, and I learned so much from John Paul Cabana. I heard he's going to be the honorary starter here today. He snookered me pretty hard in Quebec City one night. I learned a little trick from him, but, you know, Canada had a great time in Toronto, right down the road here at Saint-Air. What wonderful facilities we had.
And as the second group gets ready to finish up its the last couple qualifying runs, let's go to Vince.
With Brandon Miller, qualified the 21 car for Kevin Harvick. So regardless of how fast you go during qualifying, Kevin still has to start at the back. So what's your objective as a fill-in driver during qualifying?
Yeah, well, actually did a little testing yesterday just to get used to the track and everything. And, you know, the main deal is just to get it in the show. Run a fairly decent lap, but, you know, try to not lock the wheels up or do anything like that. And just get it in the show for Kevin, and, you know, hopefully I'll have a good run in the AutoZone Chevrolet.
Did you notice much change in the track since you were on it yesterday?
You know, I was on it, didn't run too many laps yesterday, but to be honest with you, it felt pretty similar, so I don't know, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, a lot of different series on this racetrack between yesterday during practice and today, but good run from Brandon Miller.
So the car that Kevin Harvick will drive sits third in the order right now. This first complex of corners, turns 1 and 2, that's the Senna corner. It's given these drivers a fit so far this weekend.
Yes, it has. And we heard, we're going to hear from Ron Fellows years ago. Look at this. I mean, here's Jeff Burton. He's one of the best guys in this series. Robbie Gordon, this is his qualifying lap. Trevor Boyes, he's like, uh-oh, I missed it. But what happens is, you know, Formula One has gone so fast here, they've had to make the corners sharper and sharper, which really not good for the stock cars, but is equal for everybody.
And it'd be interesting to see when the race starts later today, 43 cars coming down into those corners for the first time at speed when they come around on the first lap.
Keep that camera on.
The IndyCar Series rolls into one of the fastest tracks on the circuit tomorrow. It's Michigan International Speedway, with Indy 500 winner Dario Franchitti and Scott Dixon continuing their close fight for the championship. The Firestone IndyCar 400 at Michigan tomorrow, ESPN 2, noon Eastern. For more, log on to ESPN.com. Beautiful day here in Montreal, and Busch Pole qualifying continues. This third group has just started their runs. Here are the results of group number 2. Brandon Miller fastest, and where he ranks in the overall standings.
I talked to Johnny Davis. One of his cars is on the track now. He goes, boy, it's kind of interesting to have a driver that you really don't understand talking to you on the radio.
The fans have turned out here. They have been coming in here since early this morning.
Absolutely. It's neat. You think it's the infield of Talladega?
They don't release an actual attendance number, but we're told that a good ballpark is somewhere around 80,000 seats, and they've filled them all, and are continuing to come in for the race that starts a little farther on. There's J.R. Fitzpatrick, one of the Canadian drivers from the NASCAR Canadian Tire Series, the former CASCAR Series that NASCAR took control of this year, and he is off the track in Johnny Davis's car.
And he's also the point leader in that series.
19-year-old from Cambridge, Ontario, and looking to make his second Busch Series start. Look at the front of the hood on the car. He obviously has
gone through the grass.
He's kicked up quite a bit of mud there.
That's where the carburetor is supposed to be, so I'm not sure the air cleaner is going to like all that stuff right there.
Yeah, look at it all up over the roof on the rear trunk lid of the car too. So that is going to be a problem.
I wonder if that home is a lawnmower service, because he just cut a bunch of grass.
There's DJ Kennington, another one of the Canadian drivers.
Somewhere, or where's he at?
He also just got done racing in the NASCAR Canadian Tire Series.
I pulled off the grass, sitting in turn 8.
You see the caution flags waving now. One of the tricks when someone has a problem in this European-style qualifying is that you've got cars spread out all over the racetrack. So the caution has been put out. Times that the drivers have posted so far in this session stand, but the red flag is out, and the cars will be stopped down there on the backside of the racetrack to clear that zero car for J.R. Fitzpatrick off the racetrack before they'll resume.
And you're trying to find out, you're sitting in the car like, okay, where's the accident? What happened? And you're like wondering, is the track going to be clear?
Yeah, you heard some of the radio transmissions going back and forth, and where are you?
Yeah.
Where's he?
I'm on an island somewhere in Canada. Hey?
So they'll send the assistants out there to the Fitzpatrick car, and the red flag will come out momentarily on this third of 9 qualifying sessions. So while the action on the track is stopped, we'll take a break, come back for the resumption of Busch Pole qualifying. Robbie Gordon has set the early fast time in Montreal. The casino on the island of Notre Dame, part of the surroundings of Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, where NASCAR Busch Pole qualifying is under the red flag for the moment, with a car stalled on the racetrack. Busch Series came in here on Thursday and had a full day of testing and practice. Then also yesterday with practice and qualifying resulted with some very warm temperatures in a little issue in one of the corners.
Well, it happens when you have these heavy cars on a hot racetrack, it starts to tear it up.
So they made some repairs yesterday. Then last night, NASCAR officials went through. You see a quick check during the day yesterday of some
got a hole.
Last night, NASCAR officials went through and did some surface work down in that corner, turn 10, as well as here in turns 1 and 2. They said there were no problems in this corner, but they put some, they called it construction bond down to make sure there would be no problems in the course of the heavy on-track action today.
It looks like it has fixed it because we've already had a 75-minute race already on the racetrack, and it looks like a non-issue.
Yeah, and that spot down there in turn 10 looks great as well. So hopefully we have no problems with the track surface today, but that's just one of the other obstacles they dealt with in a new race weekend. The Circuit Gilles Villeneuve was built on the island here in the mid-1960s. The island originally used for the World Fair, 1967 Expo. And then they had some of the venues for the 76 Olympic Games here. The circuit built in 1978. First Grand Prix of Canada won by Canadian legend Gilles Villeneuve, whom the circuit was named for after his death in a racing accident in 1982. Beginning to get the cars back up to speed and resume this third qualifying session. While we wait for the up-to-speed action, let's check back downstairs with Marty.
Thanks, Alan. I'm down here with 3-time Craftsman Truck Series winner in 2007, Ron Hornaday, checking out some of his competitors' qualifying runs before he goes out. And Ron, can you learn anything? What can you learn from watching the other guys go out?
Well, I mean, you guys got great coverage. It's actually showing live on TV, so that's even better yet. And I watched Robbie go out and qualify and see if the track was slick or not. But definitely you see these guys go by and just see the brakes glowing real bad. So it's just going to be a 1 or 2 lap qualifying for us. I mean, every time you can save brakes, a lap here is going to be big for the race.
Everybody's screaming brakes for the last 3 days. Are you experiencing excessive brake wear as well? Well,
you're getting brake wear. I mean, we don't see a lot of heat in the calipers and everything like some of the guys, but we're definitely seeing the pads, wearing down real quick. So, like the Trans Am cars go in there and switch brake pads in the middle of the race, and we can't do that. I know when the F1 cars come here, they got a special brake package, and I just found that out earlier this morning. So we're just going to have to be easy on the brakes, and our Shards gave us some great horsepower to Dollar General cars, so we're going to depend on that all day.
Former Craftsman Truck Series champion Ron Hornaday, he actually, guys, holds the record for most consecutive NASCAR Busch Series races running at the finish, 74 consecutive, and if he can get number 75 today, he'll be in really good shape. Thanks, Alan.
All right, Marty, qualifying has resumed. 63 car, one of the Canadian drivers, Mike McKenzie, on the racetrack, getting up to speed and trying to get his spot secured in the starting field.
Alan, these guys, the home field advantage is going to make a huge difference later in this qualifying runs. when you see Patrick Carpentier, who's run 4 times, won races here, Michel Jourdain won a race here. You know, these guys later in the day, that experience is just going to pay dividends for these guys.
Mike McKenzie, a veteran of the racing circuit in the Canadian Maritimes, is from Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, looking to make his NASCAR Busch Series debut. That's the Jeff Spraker racing car. Michel Jourdain has won on this circuit in the past. Vince is with him right now.
That's right. Michel Jourdain won the Champ Car event here in 2003. Quite a difference between a Champ Car and a stock car of this variety. What's the difference in driving the two?
Well, it's completely different. Mainly the weight is amazing, the difference, especially in this track. You know, Mexico City is different. You are a lot slower. The car is also a lot slower in the change of direction and all that. But here, the brake distance is amazing. And, you know, the way we will have to take care of the brakes today in the race is we will have to slow down a lot. You know, in a Champ Car race, every lap is like qualifying lap. And today is going to be a lot more about thinking and of the end of the race.
Is that difficult to change that mindset from what you experienced in Champ Car to the patience you have to exhibit here today?
Well, I think at least for me today, it's going to be very different race ever in the mindset, you know, like even when I've done the last couple of years, the 24 hours of Daytona, you slow down a little bit, you take care of the brakes and the gearbox, but you are going pretty fast all day long. And today, you know, to be there, to have a good car at the, after 74 laps, is going to be a completely different mind game.
Yeah, qualifying first, Michel Jourdain in the Dish Network car for Jack Roush today.
And a little whoops there for DJ Kennington down in turn 10.
I think they told him, man, you got a good lap.
Right. Just cool the thing down. Don't come in with it on, even if you got close around a lap.
Randy McDonald.
Gas mileage, I mean, might mean something, I guess. Just cool her down. If you can get her cooled down and in, that's fine.
It's Randy McDonald, the former veteran driver, now team owner crew chief for this operation, telling his driver to take care of it here for a cool-down lap. Nice run for Kennington, 3rd fastest so far.
Yeah, it's a great, and he just got out of the NASCAR Canadian Tire Series car, so that obviously helps.
30-year-old from St. Thomas, Ontario, making limited number of NASCAR Busch Series starts for this team. I met DJ at, I'm thinking it was Memphis last fall when he made his Busch Series debut.
Yes.
And had just come off the summer of what was then the NASCAR Series and had a very successful year and has done very well in the NASCAR Canadian Tire Series so far this season. So this group has concluded. Here are the results and where they rank in the overall standings so far. DJ Kennington, 3rd fastest at the moment. Coming up, Greg Biffle's car will be on the racetrack along with David Ruderman, Bobby Hamilton Jr. That when we return to Montreal.
The grandstands are filling up. We're getting ready to go racing. Got some bumping and banging going on. We got a car in the wall, and it is McCaskill. This time it could be Ruderman taking advantage. This one's going to the wire. There it is, the checker.
Great job. Good job, everybody. And boys, this is all for you guys, man. We're going to victory lane.
Well, that was just 1 week ago, and you can imagine the excitement and the emotion. Toyota getting its first win in Busch competition, and here's the young man who's behind the wheel, Jason Leffler. What's this week been like as you've enjoyed a milestone for Toyota?
Yeah, it's been really short, actually, but it's been short and sweet. Got to thank everybody at Braun Racing and Great Clips, and, of course, Toyota. We had a victory lunch and a victory party Todd Braun put on for all the guys. So then we came right here to Canada, and boy, the guys have been getting their money. We've been getting the money's worth out of the guys. I mean, we went through a race car, went through an engine, and now we're, getting ready to take this baby into the race. And Great Clips Toyota's running good. It just run my own pace here, just finish the race, get some good points, stay on the racetrack, and we should be able to come home with a good finish.
I want to ask you about the challenge of this racetrack. You mentioned you went through a race car, you damaged it, so consequently you're in the backup car. That means you're going to have to start from the back of the field. That's got to be a bitter disappointment. But how do you approach now this qualifying session? What will you try to accomplish?
Well, just get in a smooth lap, and we won't run too many laps because the brakes and everything are so important. So we're going to start last no matter what. Pit selection's not real critical here at a road race because no one comes in at the same time. So I'll just make a couple smooth laps. and get a feel for everything. Car's good. This is our Watkins Glen primary car, so need to kind of take care of it today to make sure we have something to race next weekend. But it's been a good week. I just want to say hi to my wife Allison, who's at home, and she's very pregnant, so she can't travel anymore. But hi, baby, love you.
All right, and thank you so much. Here's a young man who's made a huge move in recent weeks. He was 20th in points a couple of weeks or a few weeks back. He's currently in the number 3 spot.
Yeah, it has been kind of a tough day for Jason Leffler, but that win last week, a tough weekend this weekend, but that win last week really is just a continuation of a trend that this 38 team has been going through, comparing the first half of their season with the latest run.
You know, I talked to those guys last week and this week. You know, that race team's starting to hit on all 8 cylinders. Dave Blaney's also a teammate to those guys, and that whole race organization. Toyota has upped this package, not only with the Braun Racing, but with Michael Waltrip Racing. Those 2 race teams have brought Toyota not only their first win, but I think they're going to give them a couple more this year.
So we'll see Leffler out in qualifying here in the next group, but right now the 4th of the 9 groups is on the racetrack. That's Leffler's teammate for the weekend. This is John Graham, not Dave Blaney in this car. John is a 51-year-old from Toronto. This guy was a former professional hockey player. Played overseas in the Swedish Professional League.
I was watching some of his practice times, and he might have to drink some of his sponsor's juice to get him up and running a little quicker.
He's kind of a little bit down the practice sheet. Is that what you're trying to say?
Maybe.
27th fastest overall yesterday. John looking to make his first road course race in the NASCAR Busch Series. I was talking to him on Thursday during the testing day here. He is from Canada, and he said, you know, to make my debut at home on a road course isn't what I had in mind, but that's when the program came together. Hoping to run a good number of races for the rest of this season and then run the full Busch Series for 2008.
I really figured he was a road race specialist, but I guess he's not.
His background is in road racing,
okay,
but looking to make the transition to the oval tracks. So John is out there, everybody chasing Robbie Gordon's time. Best time so far, 1:03.171 seconds. And here is the 37 car that Greg Biffle will drive in the race, but that's not Greg Biffle driving right now.
No, that's old Casey Atwood. He's a fellow Kentuckian from with Bruco. He's driven these cars for Bruco before, and he's just making some laps for the Biff when he gets here.
Wow, took that left front tire right up off the ground.
Well, wait till you see Hornaday come through there. It looks like he's laid right over it. You could get one of those gophers underneath that thing. We'll probably see here.
Randy referring to the fact that there have been a couple of wildlife sightings back and forth across the racetrack during the practice sessions the last couple days.
We see them for a little while, and then they just stop short in their tracks.
I'm not going there. I'm not going there. See the logo on the hood of that car. Martin Brodeur, the goalie for the New Jersey Devils, 3-time Stanley Cup winner, big French-Canadian sports hero. He will be here today as part of Greg Biffle's pit crew. We'll meet him and talk with him a little bit later on in our NASCAR Countdown show before the start of the race. He and Biffle's sponsor teaming up to support a charity cause that Brodeur is involved in here in Montreal. How about that telemetry?
Well, I'm not quite sure if 10,000 is the RPM they're looking at because they do have gear rules and stuff. It almost looks like the finish of the Canadian race. There was one on that corner. Hard on the gas. Man, that RPM telemetry is a little off. Hang on to her. And one thing you have to be very careful of here in qualifying is if you flat spot your tires, you're going to have to start the race with flat spotted tires, and that's not a lot of fun.
That goes back to what we were talking about when we first came on the air, Randy. How do you balance going fast enough to get the best starting spot you can and that track position you need in the race with careful?
You know, race car drivers, when we tighten that helmet, it's hard to be careful. You know, our instincts, we tighten that helmet, we just click on to go. And like I said earlier, he missed the one corner, and he almost messed up his second corner.
You know, the other thing is Atwood's not going to drive that car in the race. They're going to start at the back anyway with Greg Biffle, so careful.
So he really don't care.
Well, he may not, but I'll bet Newt Moore, his crew chief, does.
Probably.
Here's Brad Sherman in the 36 car. Right now, 3rd fastest overall with a time of minute 6.4 seconds. And going to take a little grass in there.
See, if you can do that, and they'll allow your time, but just at turn 14, they won't allow your time.
Where you're going through on the pavement. And
yeah. I guess you could cut grass, and they don't mind it.
Well, he wasn't gaining any time in that grass. Come on. Ricky Pearson, his crew chief, telling him where he's at.
I just went off. I want to do another one. That's good. 46.30. That's good. I put you third. Just ride slow. Make another lap slow. Just peel your brakes off.
Let's see if he listens.
A little bit of negotiating going on there. Oh, he's going to come in.
Okay, he didn't listen.
Nope.
This is a very tricky pit road entrance right here, Alan.
Well, there we go back to Casey Atwood.
I'm sure Newmore's, okay, we're done. Bring it in.
Yeah. Let's see what happened here.
It was going too fast. Oh, yeah.
They used flat-spotted tires.
Yeah,
what you were talking about before.
He had to get off the brakes. You could feel your tires lock up. I mean, that's one of the things that you're going to have to really put your brake pressure. When you put brake pressure down, when you feel that left front or the right front lock up, boy, you got to get off the brake. And it's so hard to tell yourself to let off the brake when you have to make a corner. You're like, oh, man, I can't let off the brake. Otherwise, well, I'm just going to crash.
Casey, as you see there on the ticker, has run the 4th fastest lap in qualifying so far. But again, that car is going to start at the back of the field because Greg Biffle will be arriving here in Montreal private. And they're going to have their work cut out for him coming from the back to the front. David Ruderman has called it a qualifying session. 6th fastest lap so far. David, one of the drivers who is admittedly not very proficient in his road course experience so far.
He'll have 74 laps of practice this afternoon. One of the things that on Thursday, with all the telemetry and the engineers that were here, it was really neat to see, you know, as a driver, to see how much information those guys were getting from the engineers, whether it was the brake engineers, from front brake to rear brake. They're like, okay, guys, you're using too much front brake. Let's dial some rear brake in it. But as a driver, you don't want to put the rear brake in it because if you get the rear end to start chattering because you have too much rear brake, you know you're going to hit something. So it's you're like, put rear brake in it. And you're like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep the front brake.
Balance in the seat of the pants feel against what the engineers are telling you from the data. Let's go down to pit road. Marty, what do you got?
Thanks, Alan. I'm here with Andy Pilgrim, driver of Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s Navy Chevrolet. And Pilgrim's presence here is the fulfillment of a promise. Andy, tell us why you're here, how that came together.
It's a conversation going back 6 years that Dale and I had, and really, you know, friends make promises and talk about things. You don't kind of hold them to it, but I'm very happy that Junior called me about 6 weeks ago and said, hey, man, I want you to drive the Busch cars, and basically that's what it is. Junior and I have been friends for about 6 years, and I think it's more of a friendship thing as well.
Yesterday you were telling me about getting that FedEx package when Dale Earnhardt first contacted you and was so mesmerized by your pass at Petit Le Mans. Tell us about that.
Well, basically, 2000 October, Petit Le Mans, I made a last lap pass after a 10-hour race to win that race for Corvette. It was a big deal. Dale saw the pass. He'd wanted to do the 24 hours of Le Mans, of Daytona, and then he sent me a letter saying, I saw that pass, man. You obviously know how to rub paint. Now you've got to teach me to drive that Corvette. And we drove together the following February.
First time in a stock car. Tell us what your thoughts are. Obviously a heavier car.
Heavy car, brakes here. This is an amazing place to bring for the first time. I mean, the brakes are the big thing here, but the cars are very fast. They've got good downforce once you can get them up to speed. But through these slow corners, it's really about patience.
Good luck today, Andy. Thank you. Alan?
See Andy Pilgrim out just a couple of groups from now in qualifying, and certainly the Red Brigade is out in Canada here as well.
Yes, it is. You know, it's funny to hear him say you never hear many guys talk about the downforce. And, you know, that's one of the things these road racers can feel. You can feel the downforce in these race cars. And obviously he did. He's like, well, you know, the corners are a little bit different than I'm used to. But then again, I mean, those Corvettes that he ran very well. And, boy, he does run good in anything he does drive.
Canadian race fans showing their favorite NASCAR drivers' colors here in Montreal this afternoon.
I wonder what color they're going to be next year.
You talking about the red?
Yeah.
We'll probably find out soon. To Gary Gerald.
Well, as the next group gets ready to roll out, Stanton Barrett here. And look on the hood, Resurrecting the Champ, a new movie coming out August 24th. Stanton is being backed here today by the lovely Catherine Morris. Colin, I'm going to turn you around here. Pardon me for stepping in front. Where'd she go? Catherine, come back over here. We're trying to chase her down. Catherine Morris is the star of NBC's Cold Case show, and I've really confused my cameraman, and I apologize. He doesn't even know where I am. I found her. Hi there, guys. Nice to see you. That's life on pit road. This is exciting, obviously, for you because of the movie, because of the TV series. But how about Busch racing?
Well, the most exciting part is that here we are having the first NASCAR Busch Series in Montreal. The fans have gone crazy this morning, and the most exciting thing for me is that the movie that I'm in, Resurrecting the Champ, is right on the hood of the car of my favorite NASCAR driver, Stanton Barrett, number 30, for the Inter-Rush team. So, I mean, how cool could it be? A better day for racing?
Tying them all together and having a great time under perfect conditions. Nice to see you. Wish you well with the new venture.
Thank you very much. Enjoy the movie. It's all about fathers and sons and sports. It'll make all you boys cry right after NASCAR.
Do boys cry after NASCAR? We'll find out. Stanton Barrett's hoping that with this good luck charm, maybe he can get a nice qualifying run in this next group.
There's no crying in... Oh, wait, that's baseball. I'm sorry.
Well, there could be. Wait till this afternoon.
Group 3 results. Brent Sherman with the fastest lap in that particular set of cars. Third fastest overall. Coming out onto the track now, Carl Edwards. What a beautiful place, Montreal. The NASCAR Busch Series visiting this wonderful place for the very first time. And the fifth group of qualifiers out on circuit. Gilles Villeneuve now, including the championship leader, Carl Edwards, hopping curves, slinging it around.
He's not at Pocono, man.
And remember that the cars on track now are highlighted in yellow on the ticker, top of the screen. Look, we've already had a couple of really quick laps. Jason Leffler, second fastest. Jorge Getters, third fastest. And there's Edwards, fifth fastest in his first trip around.
You know, their race car drivers don't ever tell the truth. We just talked to Leffler. He said he was going to take it easy. Okay.
Well, maybe he thought that was easy.
Well, you know what? He probably learned something. Easy is fast on a road course.
Carl Edwards, of course, doing the shuttle back and forth from Pocono to here. And also dealing with a little bit extra on a road course this weekend.
Oh, a lot of shifts and a lot of, you know, he's already wore out a glove on his right hand. He's trying to use his right hand without his thumb. He cannot use his thumb. So they had to modify the shifter. We'll see later that he's up on it, boy. He's not missing too many of those curbs.
Of course, the dislocated right thumb suffered in that dirt track racing accident a couple of weeks ago. And on an oval track, you know, two hands on the steering wheel, but here in Montreal, that right hand on the shift lever some 18 times a lap, changing gears.
Yes, absolutely. It's going to be very uncomfortable for him, probably during the course of this event. Not only is his hand going to hurt, there's going to be a lot of these guys with their leg cramps. Their left legs are going to be probably cramping up later on in the day.
Carl Edwards jumps up to fourth fastest with that lap you just saw.
64, P4.
Jason Leffler done after just a couple laps.
That's good. I'm surprised he didn't go around and just cool it off. Once he made that lap, he just says he's idled all the way around the racetrack.
Actually, you're right, Randy. One flying lap for Leffler, and he was done with the second fastest lap. the weekend he's had here, he probably figures he doesn't want to take any chances.
You ain't kidding. Okay, I only got so many laps in me. I'm going to park this thing.
Let's not tempt fate. Remember, this is the backup car. He was involved in a crash here earlier in the weekend. Jorge Getters, the 37-year-old from Mexico City. Remember what a splash he made the first time we ever heard his name in a NASCAR race car? March 2005, won the pole for the race in his native Mexico City.
He's done Bruco a great job, and this paint scheme is a good-looking car. You know, Scott and Kimberly Clark are doing a big promotion up here in Canada. Back into Canada after a long absence. So Kimberly Clark and Scott are really putting a big promotion on.
While we watch Getters on the racetrack, let's hear from some of the drivers who just finished qualifying. Vince?
David Rudeman, one of those doing the double duty this weekend, practiced at Pocono this morning, and then I think 8th or 9th quick so far here this afternoon. Talk about the difference in adjusting from a driver's perspective, how you do one track like Pocono in the morning and come here in the afternoon.
Well, I'm so completely lost when I come here. It's really not that much of an adjustment, but everybody at Michael Waltrip Racing has done a great job, and I tell you, we're proud to have NAPA on the car. I think it looks great, and hopefully we can stay on the track and have a good finish today. It's my second road course race, so I'm still got a lot to learn.
David Rudeman trying to make the best of it here today at Montreal.
But at least maintaining a sense of humor about it.
As you can see right there, he's second quick right now, and he has a lot of tape on that grill, so I'm not sure he's going to make many more laps. You might see that old overflow come out the right side. Say, okay, stop, let me done.
Taped off pretty heavily. One thing they are allowed to do in the impound area after they finish qualifying is remove tape from the grill of the car. So,
which gets the temperature of the motor up. You want the motors to be anywhere from 190 to 210 degrees. That's the best for horsepower. But if anything over 210, you start slowing down. So they're going to try to keep that temperature where it needs to be.
He's done. Getters is done, yep. So second fastest lap so far for Jorge Getters, bumping Jason Leffler back. Carl Edwards also jumps up to third, so Leffler bumped back to fourth. But everybody's still chasing Robbie Gordon, who went out in the very first group and whose time has stood up so far.
They're getting closer. They're within 0.6 of a second.
Solid effort there for Carl Edwards. He'll start in third. The Busch Series championship leader making the decision to skip the second practice in Pocono and make sure he was here on time to qualify this car and get some track position for this afternoon's race. One of the guys who will take a shot at Robbie Gordon's top spot atop the qualifying roster is with Marty right now.
That's right, Alan. I'm here with Ron Fellows, who has set the pace for much of the weekend. A very fast race car at the top of the board the entire time. You think you can supplant Robbie Gordon, Ron?
We're sure going to try. That's, from what I understand, the track's a little bit more slippery today than it may have been because we got rain last night, and then the Canadian Tire Series that just ran slightly different tire. But we're going to give it a go. The guys with KHI have done a great job for me with the Camping World Monte Carlo. So yeah, we're looking forward to it. This is obviously a special weekend for me, and just trying not to get too excited about being here in Canada and racing on the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. So Gilles is a hero of mine, and this is very cool. And the crowd has just been awesome.
And we're heading to Watkins Glen next weekend as well. You'll be in the same car, a 3-time winner there. Obviously, the prospects look good.
Yeah, we've got. I'm feeling pretty good about things with certainly with Kevin's team, and going to drive the DLP Impala for Hall of Fame Racing as well. So this is actually great. For me to have back-to-back NASCAR weekends. I'm excited about it, and yeah, we're going to do the best we can.
Ron Fellows, definitely a favorite here today, guys. Alan?
Yes, certainly will have the support of the Canadian fans today. Ron has had a great deal of success in NASCAR Busch Series road course racing, all at Watkins Glen.
Mr. Ron Fellows.
Yeah, he was pretty happy to get that win. 3 Watkins Glen Busch Series victories, all driving for Joe Nemechek's Nemco Motorsports team, the 87 car.
He has done so well with that Corvette. They have a Ron Fellows edition Corvette you can buy.
Yeah, the Corvette that he drives in the Le Mans 24-hour race and the American Le Mans Series. So Ron will be out on the racetrack in just a little while. Look at his Busch Series career on road courses. 3 wins, 4 top 5s, 5 top 10s, and the most laps led in Busch Series history on a road course. We'll see Ron Fellows on Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in just a little bit. For the first time, the NASCAR Busch Series racing on the road course in Montreal. Later today, you will see it on ESPN2 starting at 2:30 Eastern Time with NASCAR Countdown. And then our coverage of the NASCAR Nextel Cup Series moves on to Pocono Raceway in Pennsylvania. ESPN tomorrow, 1 o'clock Eastern Time. Of course, Tony Stewart will go for the three-peat and that race for the chase. Dale Earnhardt Jr., Kurt Busch separated by only like 13 points for the final spot in the standings there. Coverage at 1 Eastern Time with NASCAR Countdown tomorrow from Pocono. For more, log on to ESPN.com.
Those guys are on the front row, aren't they, together?
Who's that? Earnhardt Jr. and Kurt Busch, yeah. Carl Edwards has just come from the racetrack. Vince?
Yeah, Carl, just looking at the board now and seeing that he's 3rd quickest. How was the run for you?
That was pretty good. 3 Ford Fusions up there right now. I hope that hangs on for, holds on for a top 10, but just so proud of the Scott's Miracle-Gro guys and John Andretti and everybody for working so hard to, come up here to Canada. This is a lot of fun. Man, I missed that subway corner down there. It's like corner 26 or something. I have no clue what number it is, but there's a bunch of subway signs, and I blew right through that one, and we still had a good lap. So I'm very excited about the race. It's going to be a blast.
How many people over the last couple of weeks talking as much about your thumb as they are your dominant lead here in the series? How does it affect your thumb on a road course when you're shifting 18 times or so and turning right and left a lot more than you would on an oval?
be the biggest issue. I don't think anybody's thumbs will be holding them up. It'll be the brakes.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on Carl Edwards later today, guys.
Okay, here you see what they did. They just took a piece of stock. What happens is he wore the gloves out. The round ball sat between two of his fingers, his ring finger and his middle finger.
I know.
Well, it wore it out, and his fingers were cramping. So he says, okay, if he had a bigger surface, he could use all 4 fingers, and it just makes it a lot better.
So we look for that to be the shifter handle in Carl Edwards' car today and see how that right hand holds up to all of the action throughout the day. Heard from him earlier, Andy Pilgrim, driving Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s 88 Navy car. Right
First
now
lap was quick.
Yeah, 3rd fastest lap. He's about 3/10 off the pole now. We're hearing there may be a complication with that lap time. At a couple of the chicanes on the course, if you miss the chicane, NASCAR will disallow the lap time. Word I'm getting is that first lap may be disallowed because he might have missed one of the chicanes.
Well, we heard Carl say he missed the subway corner. We don't wonder if we have any video. Oh, if he come through the grass, you know, and went straight and then missed 100 feet of road, he will be a little quicker.
The way these guardrails are at this racetrack,
no, you don't want to miss a whole lot.
You're not going to miss 100 feet of road.
This is true.
You're going to hit something. So let's see what kind of a number that Pilgrim posts this lap by. And this little chicane here, these final 2 corners, 13 and 14, this is a tough spot on the racetrack right here. Look at that front end slam down when he jams on the brakes. Got it that time.
Yes, he did. Also had a good lap was Ron Hornaday right behind him.
Hornaday slotting in 4th fastest. Let's see what Pilgrim's lap time is this time.
It's a good lap.
It will be the 4th fastest lap. At a minute 3:5:77.
Ron Hornaday just bumped up to the lead.
Okay, I'm backing off. I'm in traffic. Well, that's 4th quick right now. That's enough. That's fine, Andy.
There you go. All done. See Eric Almirola all done in the Gibbs 20. He's run the 8th fastest lap. Ron Hornaday has just shut it down. Randy said it just a second ago. Hornaday just put the fastest lap on the board. Bumped Robbie Gordon off the pole. 102.591 seconds. You know, we always struggle with what terminology to use. The lap times, you just heard Wes Ward call out a minute 42. The NASCAR terminology that they use here is total seconds. So it's 102.591 seconds for Ron Hornaday. That is the time to beat right now.
Any kind. I've always had trouble with terminologies. The crew chief's like, what's the problem? It's like, well, it doesn't turn, or it does turn, or, you know, you really want to tell them it's just not that good.
15th fastest for Mike Wallace so far in the 7 car for Geico. He's still on it, sounds like. A lot of the other guys have shut it off and are coasting around. And, you know, I hadn't really thought about it, but interesting that we're seeing all these guys take these long, slow cool-down laps to save, to get the temperature in those brakes back down.
Well, what happens is it won't, if you stop, your rotor's in one location and you're just not putting air to the caliper. The biggest thing is getting air into that brake caliper. You got to cool the seals off. So at least going slow like this, you got air going to them. You got it cooling down. They're still going to be hot when they get in there, but they're probably going to be a couple hundred degrees if you just yanked off the racetrack.
I think Mike might have called it a day on this lap too. Here he is, turn 1 a minute ago. Whoop, 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 whoop. Don't want to drag that left front for too long.
Not a lot.
So let's check out group number 6. Ron Hornaday, new pole sitter. Andy Pilgrim slotting in 4th fastest on the 2nd of his laps. Remember, the first one disallowed. Then Brad Coleman, Eric Almirola, and Mike Wallace, 15th overall.
Hornaday better like the pole for a little while because we got some fast guys coming up in the next couple of groups.
And remember, the cars lined up in inverse order of their speed in final practice. So you're going to start to see the Scott Pruitts and the Michelle Jourdains and the Ron Fellows and the Boris Seds coming up in these next few groups on Circuit Gilles Villeneuve here in Montreal. But there's the man who's fastest so far, Ron Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal and the inaugural NASCAR Busch Series race coming up later today. Right now it's Busch pole qualifying. Ron Hornaday on the pole and Scott Pruitt leads group number 7 out onto the racetrack. Of course, Pruitt has gotten a lot of attention this weekend for this.
Mexican drivers have been one top 10 finish in the first 2 years here. Scott Pruitt, road course credentials excellent.
A fuel issue on the 42 car. What a huge disappointment here for Juan Pablo Montoya. There's contact. Montoya and Pruitt come together.
I'm glad we won the race, but I'm really upset that we took out our teammate.
I mean, that was no good, low, nasty, dirty driving.
Got this one out of the way now, and on the next one, I want to win in an oval.
First time we've seen Pruitt back in a NASCAR race since that Mexico City event, and he will be one of the favorites this afternoon for the win.
You know, these guys built a car from scratch to come up here. You know, that you think that car from Mexico City was good? They really like this one.
Whoop, missed that one. Oh, he's coming to the green flag, so that's legal.
Yes, it is.
My bad. Is coming to the green flag, so this is the beginning of Pruitt's time run right there.
Now, Scott has been running road courses forever. He run NASCAR Nextel Cup for a couple, 3 years, and you know, it's going to be very interesting to see. He's very good with his brakes and car management. He just run the DP race last night, and you know, they run 3rd or 4th. As you heard, that thing's all over the chip.
Gary?
Talking with Scott Pruitt just before they rolled out in this session, I asked him, what do you want to be able to accomplish? He said the biggest thing is to be smooth. He said top 5, top 10, I'll be very happy with that. But he also told me, guys, that when he posted his best time in happy hour yesterday, which determines the order of these groups, he was on 20-lap tires. So he says, frankly, on stickers in the qualifying setup, I really don't know what to expect. I think he wants more than a top 5 or a top 10.
You ain't kidding. Any race car driver, if you're good in practice, you want to back it up. He's using all of this racetrack.
So we're watching Pruitt on his first flying lap, and he's trying to knock Ron Hornaday off the pole. Is Ron a little nervous down there, Vince?
Well, I don't know. Ron's not even looking at the monitor, so I don't know if you're nervous about Pruitt's potential or not.
No, all I know is a good run for the Dollar General Chevrolet and Wally and all the guys. They did a great job. I mean, we picked up a ton from practice, and it's just learning the track. I mean, Wally, the guy, just made the car so stable there, and it's like, is that fast enough? He goes, yeah. And I said, well, there's some more in. He said, save the brakes. So awesome. I mean, this whole guy, all these guys just work so hard to Dollar General car. I'm happy for Kevin Delaney and everybody. Just get an opportunity to come here and run.
The clouds kind of playing a little hide and seek with the sun. Does that make a difference when the sun's behind the clouds track-wise?
I use that for an excuse why we went a lot faster than we did yesterday, but no, I don't know if it does. It might just give it a little more grip and all that stuff. But these guys will go out there. I mean, hopefully they'll give us a good top 15 start in this race today, and we'll have fun.
I think Scott Pruitt's second quick, so you're still on the top spot. Ron Hornaday. Alan?
Also on the racetrack in this group, Stephen Wallace, Nicholas Johnson, Stephen Light, and Michelle Jourdain. So we'll keep an eye and see how the times shake out here as Pruitt goes for another flying lap.
You know, it's going to be interesting. The crew chief that was Juan Montoya's, Brad Parrott, is now his crew chief.
Isn't it great how those things work out in racing?
Yes,
you tangle with somebody on the track one week, and it just so happens you're parked next to him in the garage the next week.
I'm not sure how that works, but it has happened many a times.
Yeah.
If we see these X's, people want to know what these X's are, like on the windows on these cars, little X's, you're allowed to tape up only a certain amount of things for qualifying. So they know if you tape them up, the crew guys got to take that tape off what that X is.
Some of the vents that will cool things that get hot during the race primarily.
Yes. Whether it's an oil tank vent or a goes to the driver's helmet. A lot of guys they won't qualify with a helmet cooler, but you know, there's certain things. If you forget one of those things, you could burn up a gear in a hurry.
Pruitt on the long run down to the final couple of corners and see if he can best Ron Hornaday on this lap. I'm going to be willing to hedge that if he doesn't get it here, he's done.
Absolutely. I haven't seen it. Well, the third lap has been quick on a couple guys.
Save the brakes. That seems to be the philosophy here. Scott Pruitt going to be our in-race reporter during our coverage of this event this afternoon. Is he fast enough there?
Not yet.
Answer would be no.
And we had some good, I mean, Stephen Light, Michelle Jourdain.
42.73, P2.
Brad Parrott, the crew chief. Watch how close he comes to the wall here.
It'll turn better if they put that left front on the ground. 4 tires corner better than 3.
They call that the Wall of Champions.
Okay.
So many champions have seen their race end against that wall in Formula One races here.
Well, we got a long day.
Here's Nicholas Johnson, one of the road racing specialists in the field today, looking to make his first NASCAR Busch Series start.
That's a great lap.
Johnson celebrating his 40th birthday today. Is that a little optical illusion there? I thought that right front headlight might have been punched in a little bit, but that
does look that way.
The decal shows, yeah. Looks like he is shut it down and bringing it in. So far, 3rd fastest overall. Stephen Light coming up behind him. Looks like he's still on a flyer.
And he was 4th fastest right now.
Light driving for Robert Yates Racing. And yeah, so far 4th fastest overall. And again, because these guys are out there in inverse order of their practice speed.
Stop and hairpin exiting the corner. There's a the blue flag is out. You're going to pass them.
There's also, we got different flags around here. When you have blue flags, it tells you that there's a guy there, but the track is clear, but somebody is there on the way.
Heard the radio transmission there to Stephen Light, and there is Scott Pruitt, who appears to be without power on this final straightaway, and he's not going to make it back to pit road from there.
Look at the heat coming off of both front tires. This is after only 3 laps.
Yeah. Stephen Wallace is on the racetrack as well. That is Stephen. Looks like he has shut it down.
Cooling down. He's 10th right now.
Yep. Solid effort there for Stephen.
Brought it back in one piece. I'm sure those guys are kind of happy.
Apparently gave it a scare, though.
Whoa! We've seen that happen a bunch this week, and wait till this afternoon.
Yep. Let's check in on some of the drivers who finished their qualifying runs. Marty?
Thanks, Alan. I'm here with Andy Pilgrim, intently watching qualifying on one of our portable cameras here. Andy, good qualifying run, top 10 right now. Had a bit of an issue on the first lap. What happened there?
Yeah, they put new brakes on. I didn't heat them up enough, and they bleed a little bit of resin. And when I came down first time to try and really use them at the end of that long straightaway, the resin just bleeds out, and basically the car started to glide in the sense that it just wasn't stopping. So I said, okay, give this one up. And I didn't want to spin or go over the big bumps over there, so I took it away and then did another one, and luckily the second one was a pretty good one.
Guys, this is a weekend of firsts for Andy. He actually made his first trip down pit road yesterday during practice, and that was a bit of an adventure as well. Tell us about that, Andy.
Yeah, I was so intent on holding 4,000 RPM. There's nobody on pit lane. I'm just thinking, oh, this is no problem. And basically, there's a little bit of a left-hand kink, and I was so intent on looking at the rev counter at 4,000, I almost scraped the wall at 40 miles an hour. It was like, okay, this is great. So I don't need to look down at the rev counter quite so intently, but luckily I didn't hit the wall, so we're all right.
Andy Pilgrim, good luck today. Alan?
Andy right now is 8th fastest, and you see the cars stopped on the racetrack as NASCAR goes to collect the Scott Pruitt car from the exit of the chicane. Michel Jourdain, one of those who is looks to be done with his qualifying run. Jourdain 5th fastest overall right now. Tomorrow, the Indy cars are at Michigan, one of the fastest tracks on the circuit. Dario Franchitti and Scott Dixon continue their fight for the championship. It's the Firestone IndyCar 400, ESPN2, Sunday, noon Eastern Time. And for more information, log on to ESPN.com. Qualifying under the red flag here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve as Scott Pruitt has climbed from his car after being pushed back in. Listen to this now as Pruitt goes down into the chicane. Listen.
Popcorn.
Didn't sound right.
No.
And he did not regain power from there. Let's see if he has an answer. Marty?
Thanks, Alan. I'm here with Scott. What happened there, man? Second on the board, but the car seemed to turn off.
Had my family at home. I went down in the last hairpin, went down into braking. Third gear, second gear, went into first, and the thing just died and made it around a turn. I'm not sure. I mean, the Juicy Fruit Dodge ran good. We kind of took 2 conservative laps, and then next lap was going to be a couple tenths better, but it shut off, won't restart. So I don't, they're going to be looking into it right now. All the Ganassi guys are good, so we'll see what we can find out. And hopefully it's nothing major and just a little something. Maybe something came unplugged. Maybe, who knows, but we'll get into it.
Still uncertain what's going on with the 41 car, guys. I'll check on that later, and maybe we can get an update. Alan?
Yeah, and of course, Marty, if they have to do anything to that car, then they will have to start at the back of the field for the race.
Absolutely right. And if he said he was going to be a couple tenths quicker, boy, he would have been right there with Hornaday, because he's about 2 tenths off of Hornaday.
Yeah, it's a funny thing, because while we were following around the racetrack, I heard the engine popping a couple times, but I thought maybe he was just on the rev limiter in some places, but it in hindsight, something obviously wasn't right while he was going around there on his flying laps.
One thing, these guys have backup ignition boxes. The whole system comes in and out, and they plug them in. So I'm sure that's what they're looking at right now, but this is all right front stuff. That's just brake looking at there.
Right now, all they can do is look, because, again, if they touch anything, back of the field, and he's second fastest right now. Let's check in with Vince. Who you got?
Standing here with Brad Coleman. Had a good qualifying run wearing the FedEx colors this weekend and having a little fun with the helmet. First of all, tell me about the helmet design, and we'll talk about your run, because I know it's something special for you this weekend.
This is a really special, it's an awesome helmet. It's one of the coolest ones I had. It's the Wear Your Heart on Your Helmet program. And there's a contest where little girls or boys design a helmet, and the winner's chosen, and this is the one that won, painted by Milan. She came out yesterday and presented it to me, and it is an awesome helmet. I'm wearing it everywhere I go. In the car, it looks sweet, because it's even got my name on there. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, a number on the back and everything. So let's talk about your run. Were you pleased? Go kind of back to your roots here with the road course, right?
Oh, yes. I've never been here before. This is a sweet track. I mean, I've had a blast here this whole weekend with the FedEx crew. I mean, their first race in Canada and my first race with FedEx. So we've had a fun time here in this beautiful city, and we had a good qualifying run. The car felt really solid. Just didn't want to wear out those brakes. So we'll see what happens in the race.
Now, you're not even 20 years old yet. Price Cobb discovered you, so to speak, and is he going to be working with you guys this weekend?
He's here. He's been here the whole weekend helping me spot. He's raced here and won here a lot in Atlantic cars, and he's just a great coach, and he's been walking around to all the corners and helping me out on where I could go better and all the secrets from the trade, if you will. So he's definitely helped me a lot.
Yeah, wearing a smile and having some fun. Brad Coleman in the 18 car today, guys.
And Brad right now 11th fastest. Of course, Denny Hamlin has been on that similar program through the sponsor FedEx all season long. The presentation yesterday, that the person on the left there in the red shirt was Mylene Lavoie, 12 years old. Did the helmet design. There she is. And, of course, a nice U.S. All-American-based theme on that helmet for the Texan Brad Coleman to wear today. Must be in Canada. The Mounties are here. Royal Canadian Mounted Police at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. But they say they always get their man.
That's what they say, but they also say if you're wearing red, you're not working.
Really?
Yeah, I thought that was orange in the States.
You better not. Never mind. Getting ready to resume qualifying here after a brief delay to clear Scott Pruitt's car from the track. Ron Hornaday fastest so far. Pruitt with the second quickest lap, followed by Nick Johnson, Stephen Light, and Michelle Jourdain Jr. Robbie Gordon bumped back to 6th place now. They continue to look at Scott Pruitt's car down on pit road. We'll follow that story for you as we go on. But the 8th of 9 qualifying groups is beginning. And there is Mr. Road Course Professor, Boris Said.
Not only is he a road course professor, he's a darn good bobsled driver. I went up to Lake Placid last year, and he gold medaled twice. And we had a bobsled event for the Bodine bobsleds, and he's all pumped up. We're going to do it at Lake Placid and at Utah Park City this year.
Of course, his dad, Bob, was an Olympic bobsledder.
Yes, he was.
Boris in practice was 6th fastest yesterday. And always one of the favorites when you come to a road course for the win. Of course, he has not gotten a victory yet in one of these NASCAR Busch Series road course races. He's come awfully close.
I think he's won a truck event, hasn't he?
But he has not, yeah. 1998 out at Sonoma.
Okay. He's due. I can tell you he wants a NASCAR victory in a Busch car so bad. I mean, him and Fellows has won it. He wants a cup win. All these road race specials, they want to stand on that podium and take home a NASCAR trophy. He missed that one.
I see on the back window panel right there, see the Montreal Canadiens logo on Boris's car. Of course, we are in the hometown of the Canadiens.
Yep.
That team's owner, George Gillette, in negotiations to become a part owner or partner with Ray Evernham in this Evernham Motorsports team. Ray has been talking for some time now that they were progressing nicely through those negotiations and that it should come to fruition soon. Hearing that maybe sooner than later, apparently.
Well, I'm sure that race team just can't wait to get more tools in their toolbox to compete with the Roush's, with the Hendricks, with the RCRs. You know, Ray Evernham has built a wonderful organization over here in the small time that he's been here.
You ever follow hockey much?
Not at all.
I grew up around Boston in the Bobby Orr era. And that Montreal Canadiens logo used to just frustrate the daylights out of me.
I couldn't stand up on those things. I have trouble with sneakers.
Here's a man who's a Toronto Maple Leafs season ticket holder. Ron Fellows from Mississauga, Ontario, just outside of Toronto.
And another Kevin Harvick car. I mean, Ron Hornaday's on the pole. Boy, that would be bittersweet to have a KHI front row. That would be real cool for those guys.
I was going to say, what would be bitter about that? It'd be sweet.
No, that's right. Real sweet.
See how Ron makes out when he comes through the timing traps here. Boy, those curves are tough in that last corner, huh?
Yeah, at least the first one.
Ron Fellows 8th fastest on that first lap. Got some work to do there. Dropping back behind Ron on track, there is Boris said. Boris was 8th fastest on his first lap just now, so kicking Fellows back to 9th.
But what I just seen, he is a lot better in 1 and 2. He just picked him up. He just picked himself up probably 3/10 from his first lap, only in that first corner.
You're talking about Boris.
Boris, yes. He missed the first corner the first time out.
But just 8th fastest on his first lap.
Well, he threw away 3/4 tenths on the first corner by overdriving it. Or the brakes weren't warm enough. And he went in there, he's like, okay, I'm going to get in there. And he's like, oh, baby, this sucker's not slowing down.
He has had the back end hung out here a couple times.
Yes, he does.
"14 turns around this racetrack. Some long, very high-speed straightaways connecting to some very slow, very sharp corners like this one.
We're going to see guys come through there with both front tires smoking, billowing smoke. He missed that just a little bit, but I'm sure this is going to be a little better lap.
Teams had their telemetry on the cars for the Thursday testing session here, and you had a chance to look at some of the numbers, Randy. They're down to 30 miles an hour in that corner?
Yes, they are, in 175 mile an hour right before this balance hits the ground right here.
Wow. Down to 54 miles an hour through that chicane.
Your water temp, what's your water temp? 200.
There's the new pole sitter right there. Fast lap just there from Ron Fellows. Okay, I have had enough.
He had so much fun. He's like, okay, I think I'm done.
142.41.
And Boris said... Boris said behind him just clocked the second fastest lap at a minute 102 seconds, I'm sorry, 0.424, minute 42. So he missed it, what's that, 19, that's 5 1/1000ths of a second that Boris missed Ron Fellows' lap time by. 5 thousandths.
Over 2.7 miles, that's incredible. You know what, all these road course guys, they all use very small steering wheels compared to the stock car guys. They got a very small steering wheel on all of these guys. And I've asked the guys how come, and they said, well, they're just so used to, in the sporty cars, to have such a small steering wheel, then they will adjust the steering box to their own hands.
Here's Andy Lally out on the racetrack now, 47 car. Andy is a 32-year-old road racer. He has had a very successful run in the Rolex Grand Am Series, driving a Porsche GT3 this year. A lot of wins. In fact, he is third on the Grand Am all-time win list in that class. He's a 3-time champion, the only 3-time champion in the relatively young series.
That's right, and he won the event last night, the GT Series.
And he's making his NASCAR debut today. Gary, you got more on Andy Lally for us?
Well, he brings a ton of confidence into this qualifying session. He won the GT class yesterday in the Rolex Series, his 5th win of the year. This is his first time here in the Busch car. They tested last week at Sebring. They came in with a lot of confidence, and he said, I'm just going to give it 99.9% of what I've got. I'm going to leave 1/10 of 1% on the table. So he's throwing everything at it. He really wants to run more Busch action in 2008 next season.
And the plan is right now for he and his road racing team, the Racers group, Kevin Buckler and his group out of California, to try and make that happen.
That'd be awesome. The Busch Series needs guys like him.
Andy Lally, 14th fastest right now in that 47 car.
It looks like he totally, all 4 tires almost missed that first turn.
Yeah, think about how difficult it must be to come in and learn a totally new type of race car. Well, you kind of went through that the other way, right? You've run some of the sports car races this year in a Daytona prototype.
Yeah, the last 2 races I've run was a Daytona prototype. I run the Rolex Series and then went back to Mexico City. And it has made me a better race car driver because I learned so much. Those guys are so good, and they can feel. Race car drivers never paid attention. I mean, I never did. All I did was turn left and mash the gas, and you get to the corner, you hit a little brake, and you go on, you hit the gas again, and you try to go fast. But these guys are so precise and so smooth, and it makes you a better race car driver when you learn stuff from these guys.
When last we saw Ron Fellows, he set fast time, then blew through turns 1 and 2, so he had to come all the way back around, start another time lap, which he just finished right there. Did he improve his time? No, a little bit slower, but still on the pole for Ron Fellows by 0.005 of a second over Boris Said.
And there's only 1 group to go, so he only has to worry about 4 more cars.
Looks like Ron has called it a day. So Fellows on the pole right now with 1 group to go. Now, I've been following the story of Scott Pruitt and what was up with his car that shut down at the end of his qualifying session. What do you got down there, Vince?
Well, with Brad Parrott, crew chief of the 41, set the time, which now is 4th quickest, and then the car shut down. What happened?
The distributor has 2 parts to it, and the A part of it went bad on us, so we went to the B part, and the Wrigley's Juice Fruit Dodge was fast. Scott said that 3rd lap was going to be a little quicker. Don't know if it would have beat Fellows there, but everybody on the team's done a great job. It's just one of those things. I can't seem to kick the road course blues. I had the fuel neck fall out on us at Mexico during the race. So as long as it happens before the race, and with this Wrigley Juicy Fruit gum, you always got to change your parts out.
And because you change that, you do not have to go to the back. We want to make that clear. You get to keep your spot.
Oh, yeah, we're good. All you got to do is flip the switch on the dash, and we're good.
You were the crew chief for Juan Pablo Montoya when he got into the back end of Scott Pruitt, your driver this weekend at Mexico City. Spun Pruitt around. No hard feelings between crew chief and driver this weekend, we presume.
No, me and Scott's known each other since 1985 and had a great relationship back in 2000. I crewed him for 10 races on the Cup Series back in 2000. Went to Road Atlanta, had a great test, and look forward to win this race today.
Yeah, one of the favorites, that's for sure, the 41 and Scott Pruitt. Thank you, Brad Parrott. Let's go to Gary Gerald.
At the head of the line for the final group that'll be going out shortly, Patrick Carpentier, his debut here in Busch action, but a man who knows this circuit very well. He won in Toyota Atlantics. He ran here in the Champ Cars, the Indy Cars, with good success. Your objective now, Patrick, as you go out and you take your run at Ron Fellows and company up front.
Yeah, what we want to do is want to start up the front, somewhere in there. We don't have to start first, but if we're right up there and we save the car for the start of the race, I'll be happy. I want to stick with these guys and see what they do. They got the experience, so I kind of want to look at them and see what's happening for a while, and then hopefully move up to the front towards the end of the race.
They're about ready to button this window netting up, and he's going to be in action shortly. And here's a guy to keep an eye on. He was very good in practice leading up to today's qualifying session.
Yep, 4th fastest overall in yesterday's final practice. Carpentier from Quebec will be a favorite of the home crowd. There are the results of Group 8. Ron Fellows first overall, 4 drivers to go. NASCAR Busch Series qualifying for Montreal, brought to you by Goodyear. Innovative technology to help you get there. On Ile Notre Dame, in the middle of the St. Lawrence River, man-made island, sits Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, where the NASCAR Busch Series runs for the first ever time today. Down to the final group of qualifying now. 4 drivers to try and bump Ron Fellows off the pole, the fastest 4 drivers in yesterday's final practice.
It's going to be very interesting here. You got the 42 car, which won Mexico City with a whole different package, a whole new team, and a whole different driver.
Yep, driver on board here is Michael Valiante, 27-year-old, Vancouver, British Columbia. Makes his way in the road racing series, running the Grand Am Rolex Sports Car Series this year.
It was funny. I was talking to Brian Patty, the crew chief, and he says they were testing with Michael the other day, and he never used an H pattern shifter. All his road racing stuff is all sequential, which is all straight line. And he's like, an H pattern? Do I have to use that? So it'll be interesting to see how he does today.
Time to beat is 102.419 seconds. Ron Fellows set that time. While we watch these guys try and best it, let's hear from Ron.
Alan, thank you. Ron, provisional pole sitter right now. Great lap. Did you have anything left in it?
Well, that wasn't as good as we would have liked to have been. Track was, I found it quite slick. I blew turn 1. I blew the hairpin. Anyway, that's... I think the worst we can be is 5th, so that's okay. Now the guys did a great job with the car, and we'll be fine for the race. That's all that matters. And we've got a full house here, so we're good.
When you came in, the car was just smoking like crazy. How were the brakes?
Brakes are fine. You know, you just get real hot because you tape up. We did one more lap than we really wanted to, but I felt like I needed to get into the 41s probably to beat pole. But anyway, it is what it is.
Ron Fellows on the provisional pole right now doesn't seem too elated just yet, Alan.
Yeah, he's got about 8 minutes to watch these drivers take a shot at his time, but like he said, worst he can be is 5th for the start.
You know, Alan, I didn't catch it earlier, but well, he says they tape up the brake ducts, so there's no air going into the brake ducts, which really heat the brakes up really quick.
Patrick Carpentier, native of Quebec, one of the local racing heroes, looking to see if he can take pole position in the first ever NASCAR Busch Series race in Montreal. You're watching live Busch pole qualifying. These the final 4 drivers to qualify for the race that comes up just a couple of hours from now.
Boy, this crowd's going to go crazy if he has a pole run here.
Carpentier, the 35-year-old former open wheel star, won on this racetrack before in Formula Atlantics. He's raced here before in Champ Cars. These are his people in the grandstand. When he comes by, watch. They're seeing him come into view now. They'll start waving and cheering and yelling. A lot of red in the grandstands, and those aren't all Dale Earnhardt Jr. t-shirts today.
No, not at all.
They're selling a lot of those red Dodge shirts for this driver in this race this afternoon. He's got a stock car race under his belt before. Ran a race in the what was then the NASCAR Series, is now the NASCAR Canadian Tire Series. Did that on an oval track last fall. Started at the back, finished 5th. Ron Fellows on the left, the man who holds pole position. Here comes Carpentier to the start-finish line. Got it. New pole sitter, Patrick Carpentier.
42.08. Good job. Bring it to us here. Bring it to us.
That's it. Enough. Stop. Cool it off.
I was a little bit dropped. You know, I burned the tires a little bit, but good job, guys. You're first right now. We'll see if any of these other guys can catch up.
Carpentier, crew chief Paul Wolf, one and done. Now 3 drivers left to try and see if they can bump Carpentier from pole position in these final moments of qualifying.
His peeps going to be hollering.
It's not going to be this lap for Marcus Ambrose. That was down in turn 2. Ambrose had set the 13th fastest time when he crossed the start-finish line that time, but he'll have to waste this lap and come back around and take another flyer. Here's a look at it.
He's not the only one that has done this in this practice session, their qualifying session.
A little bit too much speed.
Yes, it is. And that's going to be the first turn with all these cars going in there.
Yeah. I'm not taking the first lap because they'll have just taken the green flag, but the next time they come by, it could be big.
Yeah.
So 13th on his good lap so far for Ambrose. He's going to be disappointed in that. He was second fastest in practice earlier.
He's such a great interview. I mean, he's so explosive and he talks a little bit different. And, you know, he's a darn good race car driver.
4 minutes left in the qualifying session. Here is Max Pappas, so far 4th fastest, driving for James Finch in the Miccosukee Gaming machine this weekend.
You should hear him say that.
Yeah, it was funny to hear Pappas try and get that out. Max, of course, from Como, Italy. Long-time single-seater and sports car racer. This is going to be his 3rd NASCAR Busch Series race.
He's been doing a lot of testing for Hendricks Motorsports in the car tomorrow for the road courses, so we'll see how good he's got those things ready for the Cup guys next week.
Listen to the reception for Carpentier as he coasts to pit road. Still a couple of minutes left in this qualifying session and a couple of cars out on the racetrack. Max Pappas just posted the 2nd fastest lap on the speedway. Question is, does he have anything left or is he done? Sounds like he's still on it to me.
Yes, it is. Nope, he's all done.
Done.
He's just cooling her off.
So Pappas 2nd fastest. Valiante is 21st fastest on the lap that he's made. Ambrose 13th. And whatever challenges might have existed to Carpentier taking pole position may have evaporated already.
That's a great job for that race team. Paul Wolf is the crew chief. And, man, those guys have been strong all year long.
So Patrick Carpentier in line to perhaps take pole position in his first ever NASCAR Busch Series race. Pappas, it looks like, is done. He's just cooling her down, unless he's regrouping to come back and take another flyer.
Well, that's right. We have time left.
And he just messed up a lap and was just kind of taking a run back around, and he's going to take one more try at it. Marcus Ambrose just jumped up to 5th fastest after he regrouped. We saw his spin a minute ago. So the home fans, it looks like, are going to get to see a hometown hero start on pole position for the race in a couple of hours. Patrick Carpentier, fastest in qualifying. Montreal in the French-speaking province of Quebec. The culture, the history, they have their sporting heroes here as well. One of them has just taken pole position on circuit. Gilles Villeneuve before his home racing fans. Patrick Carpentier of Joliet, Quebec, has taken the #1 starting spot for this afternoon's NASCAR Busch Series inaugural here in Montreal. Let's hear from him now, Marty.
Thanks, Alan. Patrick, congratulations. First career pole and your first career start in front of your home crowd, waving to them. What's it like?
Hey, if I would have written a book about a perfect race, perfect time, and perfect timing with NASCAR, it wouldn't be better than that. I mean, we're up front all week and got the pole position. I mean, these guys, Paul Wolf, my chief mechanic, prepared a fantastic car. I want to say thank you to Dodge and Zellers, Komatsu, and Cinema Guzzo, because of them I'm here this weekend. But you know what? I'm hoping so hard it's going to keep going, and I'm going to be part of NASCAR. That's what I wish.
All week long, everyone's talked about track position, how important it is to be out in front, in that clean air. You're there. Assess your chances later today.
Yeah, I'm very happy. I got two things. You know, one way I'm really happy we got a pole position, but in a different way, I want to be a little bit behind to see what these guys would do and how they would manage the cars. That's the thing I don't know. You know, I don't know if I'm going to burn the brakes in the first 10 laps or not, or how it's going to be. So we'll see how it goes, but I'm going to try to save it a little bit. Maybe I'll get a couple of guys through on the first few laps and try to follow just to see what they do. But hey, it's great. I mean, to be on the pole in NASCAR for me is a dream, so it's fantastic.
Patrick Carpentier on his first career pole, a daunting task in his first career race. Vince?
Oh, many from Evernham Motorsports going by to give Boris said congratulations. Not the pole, but 4th quickest, a good starting spot But the significance of having the opportunity to start up front here at this track as compared to maybe the middle of the pack?
Yeah, it's better because you can save your brakes. I mean, I have some of the best brakes in the business with performance friction, but still this track's really hard on brakes. So, you know, I'm going to have to be real patient in my Hellman's Mayonnaise Dodge.
And is that a difficult task? You're a veteran road racer, so the patience kind of comes with the territory, maybe a little better for you than some of those that aren't used to turning right as often?
No, I'm not usually the most patient guy in the world, so that's why, I mean, I'm not totally upset I'm not on the pole. I mean, I think the Evernham guys gave me a good enough car to be on the pole, but I made a little mistake, and I probably should have done one more lap, but I didn't really want to put any heat in the brakes, but it's a lot easier to follow, so I can follow these guys and kind of pace myself and try not to use the brakes and hopefully save the car to the end, and then maybe we can make a run in this Hellman's Mayonnaise Dodge and be there at the end when it's important. I also got to say something too. We have the, you know, Mr. Gillette's involved now, I think, with Evernham's team, or I keep reading it on the internet, but we have the Montreal Canadiens on the back of our car, so we're kind of a home team favorite now.
Yeah, you're pulling out all the stops to get the support, right?
Exactly. I'm waiting for my jersey.
Boris said a little strategy involved in his ride today and starting fourth in this event of Montreal.
Boris heading off with some of the other drivers for the drivers meeting that will be held here shortly, and then we'll be seeing the green flag in just a little over an hour's time here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal. Max Pappas came up second fastest. Gary?
Indeed, he just climbs out of the car. He was the last one to get in here. Congratulations, you start in the front row with the number 2 spot. Now, what's the strategy to go 200 miles?
I tell you guys, I'm so proud of my Chevrolet Mikosuke car. You know, we drove, the best, and Chuck and all my guys here in Phoenix Racing have done an awesome job. I did the 3 fast laps, slowed down one, tried to go. I knew that I could have gone in the pole, and it was an awesome lap. And starting on the first row, and I can't believe, first row in a Busch race. I can't believe this is gonna be awesome.
Well, he gets about, 10 minutes to celebrate. They've got to be at a driver's meeting, and then they start thinking about the 74 laps of competition.
Let's take a look how they'll take the green flag for this afternoon's race. Patrick Carpentier on the front row with Max Pappas.
You know what? We got an in-car reporter with Scott Pruitt. Marcus Ambrose, Ron Hornaday. These guys are going to be very interesting to watch, that's for sure.
Nice qualifying run for Stephen Light in the 5th row, 9th position for him. Robbie Gordon was one of the first on the racetrack. He got kicked back to row 6 for the start.
He was hoping to finish in the top 10, but he's 11th, and that's darn close. We can see a lot of young guys. Stephen Wallace, Kyle Krisolov, Jason Leffler. These guys are going to have to learn a lot from these road racing people.
And we saw championship leader Carl Edwards in the 15th position. Michael Valiante probably going to be a little disappointed back in row number 11. Jeff Burton's car, Scott Wimmer qualified it. Burton will race it, so they will drop to the back on the pace laps and bring up the tail of the field along with the Greg Biffle car when we get the green flag, and Kevin Harvick will be back there as well. Back to Montreal in just a moment.